Hello, welcome Ardbegians. My name is Colin Gordon. I'm the distillery manager here at Ardbeg Distillery on Islay, and I'm absolutely delighted you can join me today to celebrate Ardbeg Day and taste our new limited edition Scorch, our festival release. Hello to everyone watching in Hong Kong, Australia, and New Zealand, and a special shout out to Tiffany's New York bar in Hong Kong. Hope all you guys are good and are looking forward to the day as much as we are. We've obviously gone virtual this year. We can't have you at the distillery in person, so we thought there's no finer way to share what we've produced for this year's festival than go virtual. If you're new to Ardbeg and don't really know what Ardbeg Day is, it's a huge day in the calendar for us here on the island. It is part of our whisky festival. The Islay Fèis is the Gaelic name for the festival. It's all about music and culture, and because it's Islay, a huge smattering of single malt whisky as well. And we always are the last day of the week. So Saturday today is the last day of the week. So every distillery has their day. Save the best to last, of course, here at Ardbeg. So normally we have thousands of people here in the courtyard, music and food and sharing great whisky. We always try and do a limited release through our committee, which I hope you're all members. And we have 100,000 members of the Ardbeg Committee, so they get a chance, we all get a chance to get a committee release, which we did for Scorch, before moving on to the festival bottling of Scorch, which we're going to come through and taste shortly. Before we start, we are going to talk or introduce you to some of our whiskies before we build up to the Ardbeg Scorch. So I always like to start a tasting with the Ardbeg 10-year-old, which is the classic Ardbeg. It is part of our core range and really has been the sort of core bottling that we've done since 2008. It's been part of the core range family, the Ardbeg 10-year-old. I've got a bottle here. I'll just show you this. You can have a wee look. Absolute classic. It's 46% Ardbeg 10. It's just the ultimate Islay whiskey, really. Soup and fruit and lots going on. So we're going to have a taste of Ardbeg 10. The distillery has had a sort of a very fascinating history, really. We've been here since 1815, and one of the things that happened to Ardbeg through the years was a series of closures, and the site was mothballed as well. So through the 80s, hardly ran at all. It was shut for a number of years. 90s wasn't particularly great either. So stock was in short supply because the distillery didn't produce a huge volume of spirit. But by 1997, we were bought over and brought back to life. We rose from the ashes when we were taken over by Glenmorangie Company, who we're still part of to this day. And the core range, if you like, when the 10-year-old joined it in 2008, that was the first of the new spirit, if you like, the Ardbeg that we'd started producing when we got going again in 97. So ever since that day, the 10-year-old is still a huge part of what we do and mature here on site. The committee that I mentioned earlier is all about people being part of what we do and making sure that the distillery never closes again. So to make sure you guys are hearing all about what we do and feel involved in part of the committee. I'm a member myself, I wouldn't be without. So let's have a wee look at this 10-year-old then. So as I said, 46%. It's a mix of wood types that go into the 10-year-old. We have, we use a variety. We fill lots of different types of wood, different casks here on the island. Every drop of Ardbeg that we make is filled into casks here on Islay before going into our warehouses for 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, depending on what wood and how long we want to mature it for. But the Ardbeg 10 here, 10 years in American oak, ex-bourbon casks, and it's a mix of first and second fill. So the new make spirit goes into the casks either straight after coming into the country from the States. So once the bourbon's been disgorged or emptied out of the casks in the States, we bring them over, we fill it with Ardbeg new make spirit. So that's a first fill. Once that has been emptied of Ardbeg after 10 years, the mature spirit will fill it with new make spirit again. That's a second fill. We tend not to really go past second fill. The activity of the cask and how much flavour you're going to get from the wood is really dependent on how many times you filled it. And we're all about getting that perfect balance between the distillery character, the spirit that we make here, and the wood. And American oak is a fantastic wood to use. When you char it, when you heat the cask, the inside of it, you get a huge amount of change to the structure of the wood, and that's going to add flavour and complexity to your whiskey throughout maturation. So first and second refills we've used for the 10, and you tend to get a lot of really interesting notes coming from that American oak. Tends to be things like vanilla, caramel, fudgy notes, coconut, banana, bit of spice, loads of great stuff coming from American oak. So it's an absolute classic. This was one of the first whiskies I tried when I first came to Islay. I'm not from the island originally. I've been here for 8 years. And when we first came to Islay, Ardbeg 10 was one of the first whiskies I tried. And it instantly takes you to a place. And wherever you guys are just now, Hong Kong, Australia, New Zealand, I hope you can join us for a few of these drams, because whiskey's a personal thing and it instantly takes you to the place. And you know, you guys can't be here today, we're doing it virtual, but a wee nose and a taste of the Ardbeg 10-year-old, you'll be instantly transported here, sitting at the distillery, soaking up the atmosphere. So we'll just have a wee nose. It's a beautiful colour, by the way, as well. You can see, like, we don't add any colouring at all to any of the whiskies here at Ardbeg. So, and we don't chill filter the whiskey. So that's just a method of filtration before bottling, where you cool it right down and you remove some of the fatty acids. It stops the whiskey going cloudy. If you add ice, we don't do that. We don't chill filter. So you've got this big, rich, full-bodied, great mouthfeel to it. That's classic Ardbeg. But back to the nose. What's I always think really, really interesting about the whiskies that we make, we've got an incredibly creative whiskey creation team that compile and put together these whiskies for us. Dr. Bill Lumsden heads the team, and just there's some wonderful, wonderful whiskies that we make. The great thing with Ardbeg 10, I always think, is it's this balance. You've got, when we make our new make spirit, when we're making the spirit here before maturation, we use very, very heavily peated malted barley. So the malt is obviously your sugar source, which we're going to extract and ferment to get alcohol. It's very, very heavily peated. It's loads of peat smoke in the grain. And when you nose the 10-year-old, you get that. You get the smoke, the soot, that sort of ashy, burnt wood, earthy aromas. But you've also got these incredible top notes, very, very light, fruity, estery notes that come from the way that we distill the spirit. When we're in the distillation process, we encourage what we call reflux. So we have a purifier which drops off the lye pipe, the pipe that connects the still to the condenser. There's a little entrapment called a purifier, and that, as your vapours are going up the still into the condenser, it drops back into this purifier and back into the still. You're just encouraging reflux. Lots of copper contact with the still gives you these very light, fruity, estery notes, and you pick up a lot of that on the nose as well. A huge percentage of the character of your whiskey that you're drinking obviously comes from the cask itself, and as I say, with these first, second fill American oak, you get a lot of that lovely vanilla. It's almost like a stone fruit, like a grapey nose to it. It's just the most wonderful, wonderful balance on the nose, Ardbeg 10-year-old. So, like, taste is always a really personal thing. You know, we all taste and smell different things, and at a young age, you tend to relate smell to memories and lots of things like that. And I probably drank too much fizzy juice when I was a young child. There's almost like a limey sherbet thing. I always think with Ardbeg 10, it kind of reminds me of 7-Up a little bit, but I think that says more about my choices as a youngster. So let's have a wee taste then. So incredible on the nose, Ardbeg 10. Slange. It's just the most brilliant mouthfeel to it. You get this, it's like light sort of like tobacco ash, wood smoke, big finish going right down, warming. But coming back, there's almost like little notes of menthol, of pear, and it's incredible. You've got this lovely sort of earthy finish and warmth going on. Ardbeg 10-year-old, just an absolutely superb whiskey. So that's what I really wanted to start on. And as I said, you'll be able to get Ardbeg 10. I'm sure you can find it. We don't make huge volumes here. We have recently commissioned a brand new still house. Since I started in the 1st of October, we have started our brand new still house with doubled up distillation capacity as we look to the future to try and meet the growing demand. But we're still really a pretty small scale operation in terms of volume. So when you get your hands on Ardbeg, it's well worth it, because there's been a lot of pride in making the stuff for you. So the next whiskey we'll just come on to, which seems quite appropriate for today because it's a bit of a beast of a dram. It's Ardbeg Wee Beastie, which we've got a bottle here. So that's the Wee Beastie, and you can see on it is a 5-year-old. Now, one thing about Ardbeg is young whiskey works beautifully here. When the distillery sort of came back to life in '97 and got some investment and got the spirit quality, everyone knew Ardbeg made amazing whiskey. Absolutely some incredible expressions of Ardbeg through the 70s, 80s, 90s. But the thing that we really upped the game with from '97 onwards was consistency and ensuring every drop that we made is bang on how we want it. And what we wanted to do was to show this distillery character that I was talking about earlier, this sort of balance between the sooty, smoky, heavy phenolic notes from the malt and these light, fragrant, estery, fruity notes from the way we distill. That's the distillery character, if you like. How do we show them off? Because it's all about the quality of the spirit. And what we did as a distillery was we produced a line of bottles called the PT Pathway, and that was young whiskies. So we had very young, still young, and almost there, 6-year-old, 8-year-old, and 9-year-old whiskey. And they were incredible. They still are incredible. They're harder and harder to find, these bottles. I have a few of them at home, and just such an incredible balance. A lot less wood influence from sort of older whiskies. It's all really distillery character led. So one thing we wanted to do was to show off how good young Ardbeg is. We came up with Wee Beastie, this 5-year-old, and we stick the 5-year-old on it. There is nothing to be ashamed about. It's something that should be celebrated. Age of whiskey is a thing where people get very hung up on. They instantly look for an age older is always better, but it's just not true. It's all about how active your casks are and how your spirit's going to react with the wood in maturation. And Ardbeg, just as I say, works so well as a young whiskey. We wanted to do a young Ardbeg as a 5-year-old. So we put that almost as a badge of pride that we can bottle younger whiskey that still tastes absolutely incredible. And it became part of the core range in 2020. It's been a roaring success and very apt for today with Scorch and all about dragons and beasts. So the Wee Beastie. It is 47.4, so slightly stronger than a lot of bottlings, but again, it just works really well being younger to have a wee bit more strength to it and a wee bit more oomph. It's quite incredible, Wee Beastie. I mean, as I say, it was unleashed on the world last year, and it's gone great. It really has gone superb. The cask makeup of the Wee Beastie is different casks, not just American oak. We have a number of refill American oak casks in there, so mostly second fill American oak, which again gives you a lot of those notes we were talking about in the 10-year-old, vanilla, caramelly, fudgy notes, but they're sort of toned down a little bit because the casks are refills, so you're getting less activity from the wood in maturation. But we also we marry them, or we mix with other also sherry casks, which tend to give you a lot more of the dark fruit notes, spicy notes as well. So we're pretty much a 50-50 mix between ex-Oloroso sherry casks and ex-bourbon casks to make Wee Beastie, and only 5 years maturation. And on the nose, it's it's vibrant. You know, instantly you can tell there's a lot less of the wood character and a lot more of the distillery character. So you've got like I think it's almost like peppery pear, like smoked meat. Do you know? Again, that tells you more about what I ate as a youngster with too many bacon fries. But there's definitely something going on there. But it's fresh, it's vibrant, it's in your face. There's masses going on with our big wee beastie, and it's just unashamedly young Ardbeg, and it works beautifully. So let's have a little taste. So Sandra, we'll have a little taste of the wee beastie. Like tarry rope, like creosote and tarry rope, and it's like a salty, salt and fudge, salted caramel thing. It's meaty. There's almost like an aniseedy thing as well going on with it. There's so much happening on the mouthfeel. And again, it's unashamedly Isla. You drink that Ardbeg wee beastie, you're here, and you know exactly where you are with it. Yeah, superb whiskey. There's no finer way to start a Saturday morning with some of these great whiskies. So, slang. Okay, so let's talk Scorch. Let's talk our festival bottling. It's time for the main event, if you like. We at Ardbeg Day, we will always do a release, and we always like to try something different. So we've done some incredible releases over the years, trying different casks and different wood types, lots of different expressions that we do, and there's always great creativity, and the theme is always led from the whiskey. So last year we did Ardbeg Black, which was matured in Pinot Noir casks, some say from New Zealand as well, so New Zealand Pinot Noir casks, and incredible big fruity notes you got. So that was a fantastic whiskey. How do you always come up with something to tackle it, or to always go that next level? Well, luckily, as I said, we've got a phenomenally talented team, and it's something I'm very proud of, that we'll be able to work together to pick future expressions as well, something I'm really looking forward to. But what we wanted to do with Scorch is two things really. There is some amazing casks, as I said here, and one thing with the Scorch, in fact I should really show you the bottle. So that's the bottle of Ardbeg Scorch. And the whole Scorch theme is come from dragons, the myth, Corey Crow, and the old Isla dragon that used to run amok on Isla. And some say he can be found in our old Dunnage warehouse, Warehouse 3. There's some fiery beasts can be found in the warehouses some days, that's for sure. But we've got the whole idea is around heavy charring and dragon-fired casks. So the American oak that I was talking about earlier that we use for Ardbeg 10, first and second fills, what we do with some of the cask is we heavily char the wood. And charring is all American oak, all bourbon casks are charred. There's 4 levels of char you can do, and it's all about the length of time you char, the intensity of the heat, and the more char you have, so the deeper into the wood this big black charcoal char goes, it does a number of things to your whiskey. It opens up the wood. It gives you a bigger surface area for maturation because the flames penetrated the wood deeper. And that's really important because your char removes sulfur. It removes unwanted flavors from your spirit as it's maturing. So you get very active casks, we call them. You get masses of flavor and masses of taste from the charring. And the structure of the wood itself, you have lots of different compounds that make up wood. Cellulose is the main one, that's like the building blocks. But you've got heavy cellulose and lignin that are the other building blocks. And when you apply heat to these compounds, they break down and they form flavour compounds. So when you break down hemicellulose, it gives you sweetness. And that helps apply sweetness to your whiskey. It's all natural, come from the wood, but that sort of sugary caramel fudgy notes again that we've talked about already. Lignin, when you degrade or break down the lignin compounds in the wood, helps give you like again some like buttery notes, but vanilla, coconut, and a bit of spice as well. Nutty note as well can come from it. And the more you char your cask, the heavier char you have on your cask, the more active it is, and the more of these compounds you will bring out of the wood. So the cask's really active, and you need to balance it. You wouldn't want to age whiskey for a very, very, very long time in heavy charred casks, because the wood could overpower it, and because there's so much going on and so much flavour coming from the wood. So what we've done is we've taken these heavy char casks, dragon-fired Ardbeg casks, these American oak, and we have filled whiskey into them. That's been emptied out, and we've filled them again. So if you like, these are refill American oak heavy char casks we've used, and it's a cracker. It's like, we've done it again. I'm not going to lie, we've done it again. Dr. Bill Gillian and the team in the Whiskey Creation. What an absolute beauty we've got here. So let's have a wee nose. Instantly you get that heavy char, the classic notes of the heavy char, vanilla, masses of it, sweetness, caramel. It's incredible. And like I say, I've got a real sweet tooth as well, so I just think it works so well. It's like peat and vanilla. You get the smoke, you get the soot there. There's like a herbal note as well. Sage, pear drops, these beautiful fruity notes are amplified as well in the spirit. It's just it's an absolute beautiful, beautiful dram. So let's have a wee taste. Ah, brilliant. I hope some of you have already bagged a bottle of Ardbeg Scorch, and if not, keep an eye out. You might get one soon, or capture one soon, so to speak. But when you do get to taste it, absolutely brilliant. Just great mouthfeel to it. There's the earthy note, that smoke right round the mouth, but sweetness coming through. Again, almost like a grapey, like a sweets. I'm just trying to think what sweet that reminds me of. Again, I ate too many when I was wee, but there's all sorts going on there. It really almost like some tropical fruit notes to that as well, just as it comes through. A mango maybe. It's absolutely sensational. Banana. We'll just try another little sip of that. Oh, first class. So we might not be able to have you here in person on the day, but that the whiskey has been worth the wait. And when we all gather again, then hopefully we can discuss how good a dram the Scorch is. Absolutely fantastic. So let's see if we've got any questions coming through. It'd be nice to hear from you all and just interact rather than me chatting away. So there's a question come in. What is your favourite Ardbeg Day bottling? Oh, great question. Discussed this quite a bit in the last few days. Ardbeg Day for me has always been, I'm pretty new to the distillery. I only came in as manager in October, coming in after the legend that is Mickey Heads, a true gentleman, a fantastic man in the whiskey world, just a great guy. So true honour to come in. A fantastic team here. We've settled in brilliantly. But I always remember coming up to the Ardbeg Day, even as a tourist, the first time I visited Islay, coming up to here, and the buzz around the place was incredible. Like I said earlier, great food, music, brilliant conversation, and what a laugh. And a couple of those days really stick out for me. And again, like we've talked about it already, because whiskey tends to bring you to a place and we tend to relate, it's a really social thing. I think sometimes the day itself at Ardbeg Day maybe kind of set me on a pathway of a thinking, sort of influenced my thought of my favourite. So my favourite in terms of day, I think, was probably Ardbeg Drum, which we had in 2019, which we'd the Ardbeg was finished in the Demerara rum casks, and I'm a big rum drinker as well, and I just thought it worked absolutely beautifully. Like, it was like smoky pineapple. It was just such a brilliant dram. But the day here, we were just dancing about in the courtyard with our youngest, our eldest daughter. Our youngest was just born, and it was just such a brilliant day, and oh yeah, I even won a prize as well. I think I won an Ardbeg drum just by knocking a pineapple off a stand with a coconut, which was a very proud day for me and the family. So that was a fantastic day. And whiskey-wise, Dark Cove, I think we talked a lot about. Dark Cove was just such a brilliant dram, like the black sherry casks. Oh, it was a phenomenal drop of stuff. I don't have any Dark Cove left now. That's the thing with the bottlings, they're limited, but what an absolute cracker it was. So hello to Scott King, enjoying a dram of Ardbeg 10 in Australia. Good man, Scott. I spent a bit of time out there myself. I look forward to coming back one day and drinking Ardbeg 10 out there in Australia. What a place. And hello to Peter Brighton in Bells Beach. So hello there, Peter. I'm pleased you could join us today. We've also got a question in from Laura. Would you recommend using Wee Beastie in a cocktail? Absolutely. One of the great things about the whiskey world, Scotch whiskey, any whiskey, but especially Scotch whiskey, is the variety of taste and flavours we have. We have 130 distilleries in Scotland, 3 ingredients, and the variety of taste and flavours is incredible. And one thing that we actually thought about a lot when we launched Wee Beastie was it's the fact that you could mix it, and because you've got so many, like we've just talked about, big earthy, smoky, meaty notes and a lot of these incredible light fruity notes as well. And yeah, you could do some great stuff with Wee Beastie. Cameron George, who's our brand ambassador in the States, he's a great mixologist. He's done some really, really cool stuff with Wee Beastie, which I think some of it will be on the website. You could look at, check it out. But absolutely, I'd always recommend drink whiskey any way you want. And I think it's brilliant that as an industry we've opened up and really started looking at cocktails and flavours because, as I say, we make such a great range of tastes, and it's all about mixing it up and enjoying your whiskey any way you want. There's another question coming here from Peter. What's the difference between the main release and the committee release of Scorch? So it's strength. The committee, as I was saying, we have 100,000 members, 120 countries are part of the committee, and we always unfortunately we can't bottle enough to get a bottle to everyone, but when we always do the committee release, we like them to be higher strength. So I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head, Scorch this year 51.7, I think it was just slightly higher, and obviously the Scorch that we've bottled here is 46%. So that's that is the festival bottling. That's the bottling for today and this week. The Ardbeg Scotch Committee bottling is like a white label. We always have a white label, and you'll see the red stamp, the wee red committee label on it as well. But it's higher strength, just not a huge amount. It's about 5% ABV more. So it's just to give people a chance to taste it at higher strength. Oh, good, we've got loads of questions coming. This is great. Always like a bit of interaction. That's one thing that we really missed with online tastings. Kate, no, sorry, I've read that. We've got a question from Sip Whiskey and Chill Out. Would you do another unpeated Ardbeg after Blasda, and have you tried Blasda? I have indeed tried Blasda. I hadn't tried Blasda before I came to the distillery 8 months ago. It's becoming harder and harder to get hold of. I knew all about Blasda. It was such an interesting thing. You know, a lot of people didn't like Blasda in terms of what we'd done, because Ardbeg is all about the peat, and the whole idea with Blasda, for people that don't know, was unpeated. So we used unpeated malt, but you do get a peatiness to it, because obviously all the pipe runs here, everything, you know, the washbacks where we ferment everything for years and years and years as a peaty whiskey and a peaty new make or peaty fermentation. So that impacted on the unpeated, where you just get a wee taste of it. I really liked it. I thought it was really interesting, and I like it. I like to try peated whiskies, or sites that have predominantly made peaty whiskey as an unpeated, because again you can learn a lot about the process and what flavours are coming from where. I really liked Blasda. Just watch this space. It was a big shout out the day to do Blasda. There's currently no plans for it, but watch the space. I would never say never with Ardbeg. We're always trying and innovating and talking and creating. So who knows? Just watch this space. It's great. We've got another question coming in here. Superb. We've got one here. How does Scorch compare to Alligator? That's a brilliant question. When I was talking earlier about like really heavily charring the casks, giving them lots and lots of heat for for nearly a minute. I think the heaviest char you can do, it's nearly a minute. You're just blasting this fire right in the middle of these American oak casks to really get the char. When you do this charring, it looks like alligator skin. That's what they call it sometimes. It's really heavy, like black char on the inside of a cask is alligator skin. So when we did the Ardbeg Alligator bottling a number of years ago, it was first fill. So these casks, very, very heavy charred casks, like we use for Scorch, had come over, and we had filled them with Ardbeg New Make Spirit, and that was Alligator. So those notes that we're getting on the Scorch, that big vanilla, fudge, caramel, coconutty notes that are just really from these heavy char casks, that was amplified in Alligator. Incredible. Real sweetness to it, real sweetness, and almost a creaminess to Alligator. Fantastic. The Scorch, if you like, is the second fill, is the refill version of that. So yeah, absolutely incredible. So there is the casks are very, very, very similar, but it's just the stages in terms of where they've been filled. Alligator first fill, so straight in the wood after it came over, and the Scorch that we're drinking today was refill. So after the disgorging of the first lot of Ardbeg, it went back in to become Scorch. So I did a wee shout out at the start. I don't know if they heard. Hello again at Tiffany's New York bar in Hong Kong. Lots of questions coming in from them. So I hope you guys are all doing good out there in Hong Kong and enjoying the day. Raring to go. So great to hear from you. We also got a hello here to Kevin, I don't even have my glasses on. Kevin Crows and the 7 mates who have kicked off Ardbeg Day with a frostbane cocktail. Fantastic. I think everyone's getting in the mood. Like I say, even though we're virtual, still feeling like a social event. I was absolutely buzzing coming in the door this morning. Really excited. And another question here from Scott King. Do you do your own malting? We don't malt any barley on site at Ardbeg. The building I'm sitting in just now, this is the chairman's study, which sits in the visitor centre. It's the greatest room of all, and Ardbeg fans that have come to Isla and been in this room know all about it. What an amazing experience to come in here and to see the whiskies that we have on offer. But when this building that we sit in just now is one of the old malt barns, so we have 2 on site. The visitor centre sits in one of the old malt floors, and actually the kiln that we used to dry the barley and had the peat smoke is now the shop area. The old kiln cafe as well sat in there. And across the courtyard, sort of this way out the building, we've got the West malting, so the other malt floor, which sort of sits as a store just now. And the old kiln from there houses our anneau vats, so the vats we use, these French oak marrying vats we use to marry anneau, which are again superb, fantastic whiskey. So we don't really have the space to start off as maltings again. We bring all our malt from Portellin Maltings just down in the village along from here. I worked there actually for 3 years. I ran the maltings before getting back into distilleries. So we still take malt from here. So we don't do our own malting. We certainly especially with me at the helm, because I manage the place. There's no hiding. I like to keep an eye on what's coming out of there and what malt we're getting. Got another here question from Comrade Somo. What's your favourite Ardbeg ever? What a question. Again, I'm just trying to. And I know Mickey, who obviously was here 13 years before me, as manager, used to say the same. But Ardbeg Ugadal for me is just the most incredible whiskey. It won World Whiskey of the Year in 2004, and it was a very wise decision. It is actually, Ugadal is the same makeup of casks as Wee Beastie, so as the Wee Beastie we tried earlier, but it's older. We don't put an age statement on Ugadal, so I won't say how old it is, but it is a lot older than the 5-year-old than the Wee Beastie, so there's a lot more wood influence, and you just have the most incredible whiskey. It's like chocolate covered raisins and pine needles and smoke, and it's brilliant. And actually, Ugadal is named after the loch, the head loch. We've got 2 lochs that feed the water supply for the distillery here, and Ugadal sits at the top. And even just walking up to the loch, you can smell the old peat banks and that up there. It's an absolutely beautiful place, and I had a wee drop of Ugadal when we made the walk to the top of the hill. So again, it's all about being in the place and bringing you to a place. But yeah, that's probably my favourite Ardbeg. When the day's finished and sit down tonight and reflect on another really busy day, I think it will be a Ugadal that we probably pour once the Scorch is finished off, of course. Another question coming in, can you remind us what the cask makeup of Scorch is? So yeah, as I was saying, through Scorch is 100% of these refill heavy char oak casks, these dragon-fired oak casks. American oak, ex-bourbon cask, 100% of them heavy char American oak, so no influence from sherry or wine casks at all. So there's another message coming here. Brendo says, thanks for doing this for the Aussies. Absolute pleasure. As I said, it's great to be doing a tasting for you guys. I spent a year of my life traveling and working in Australia and New Zealand. Never made Hong Kong though. Maybe there's hope for the future. But it's an absolute pleasure to be here. And you know, I know there's a lot of real whiskey fans. That's the great thing with Ardbeg, isn't it? That you can go to all over the world, and the passion and love for Ardbeg distillery is just incredible. So I'm absolutely delighted that we can share today with you guys. There's another one coming in. What's your favourite place in Islay, Colin? My favourite place on Islay, apart from Ardbeg distillery, of course, probably Claggan Bay. So if you come out of the distillery here and take a right, the road takes you eventually up to Ardtala farmhouse, right at the end of the road. And if you take that road, it's everyone in Islay, all the locals talk about going up country. And at the end of that road, at Ardtala farmhouse, sits Claggan Bay, which is not a sandy beach. There are some unbelievable sandy beaches on Islay, Saligo Bay and, well, Tryvan. Obviously, we named the whiskey Tryvan, Singing Sands outside Port Ellen. Absolutely beautiful beaches. Claggan Bay is a stony beach, and actually the midges are dreadful there in the summer. I'm not really selling the summer. I should have thought this through. No, it's the most beautiful beach. It's up a sort of track. There's a few trees around it as well, and I'm originally from Perthshire, which there's loads of trees, which if I ever feel a wee bit homesick, I can go up and sit under some leaves. And it's just the most beautiful spot. We like taking, as a family, we like going up there and throwing stones in the water and walk the dog. That is definitely my favourite place on Islay, Claggan Bay. You can, even if it's windy and wild up there, you can just sit in the car and eat your picnic. Absolutely love it. Brilliant. Make sure if you're over in Islay, you go up to Claggan Bay, but bring midgie repellent in the summer. It can get absolutely horrendous up there. Another question here. What's the best food pairings from Ardbeg, apart from the barbecue? So I think we've been asked this a few times today. I'm sorry I keep having to peer like that. I feel like my granny when she's not got her specs on. The best food pairing. See, I love my cheese. And I think Ardbeg's just absolutely brilliant with cheese. See, seafood as well. I mean, the ocean is literally out the doorstep. You know, we have our own pier here, and we get loads of great shellfish. You know, langoustine and oysters and scallops. And one thing that we always do at Ardbeg Day is there tends to be seafood here and oysters. I tell you something, see, wee beastie 5-year-old poured over oyster or seafood would be absolutely super. Or mussels would be absolutely brilliant, like smoked mussels. That'd be incredible. In fact, I think I found a winner there. But I'm a big cheese fan, and I like a really like strong cheese with Ardbeg. It's a great pairing, but it goes with so much. You can try and let me know how you get on. So we've got lots of hearing. We've got lots of love for Oogie on the chat as well. Ugadal, like I say, when you're asking me my favourite Ardbeg and saying Ugadal, it almost seems like a common answer, but it's a common answer for a reason. It's just such a absolutely brilliant dram. There's more questions coming. This is brilliant. Loads of questions. Superb. We've got a question here. How is it moving from Lagavulin to Ardbeg? What are the main differences? So I ran Lagavulin for just over 2 years, and it was a great job, a great site, and a great whiskey. But this was always the job that I wanted. Felt great, huge love for Ardbeg as a site and the brand, and I knew I knew a lot of the team here. I knew it was a great team and a great vibe about the place. So I was absolutely delighted to take the role here, and that's us well settled. I think it's been the main differences. Well, actually, there's quite a few. The main difference from a production side is we fill every cask here, which is brilliant to see. So every cask of Ardbeg is filled on site. We warehouse a lot of casks here as well, a big number of casks here, and we disgorge. So every drop of Ardbeg you drink, those casks have been emptied on site before being bottled. So it's brilliant to have that side here. I didn't really have that in Lagavulin. But the other thing that I think the big difference, which something I really love, is there's a lot more manual intervention as well. So the mashing here, we've always got a mashman and a stillman, two people on a shift in terms on the distillery side, and we have like just so much more interaction in terms of watching and the smelling and the feeling and opening valves and things manually, and I love that. I'm a whiskey romantic at heart, and I absolutely love that side of it. So you've settled in a dream, but it's been absolutely brilliant last 8 months. Okay, so I think we'll just move on. Probably the final question now. How is everything going with the new stillhouse? Have there been any challenges? The challenge really has been you feel instantly under the cosh because it's the first time in over 200 years that we have built a new stillhouse. So coming in the door, we were sort of halfway through getting it ready. There was still quite a bit of work to be done. COVID had held up the final bit of building work, and actually my day handover here with Mickey Heads, he said to me, "That's what your priority is," and no pressure at all. It was some handover chat, but he just said you'll be absolutely grand, and sound advice as always from Mickey. So we've got it going through COVID. That was probably the biggest challenge, like really just making sure that people were working safely and we were getting it done correctly, and making sure the new make spirit is bang on, because clearly when you start a new stillhouse, it's a big change, but we need to be making Ardbeg in exactly the same character. So there was a lot of work done around run times and strengths and the way we cut the spirit to make sure it was bang on. So challenging time, but what an asset we have, and the guys have settled in really well. I can't wait to show people it when they come over. Absolutely beautiful, the new stillhouse Ardbeg. So fantastic. Okay, so thanks to everyone for the great chat and questions. Like, that's absolutely brilliant. So good. Even though we can't be here in person, I really feel like it's such good interaction. Brilliant to catch up with you all. Thank you so much for joining me on my first Ardbeg Day, and I really hope you enjoy the celebrations. Don't forget to join the Ardbeg Committee if you're not a member. Make sure you sign up, and obviously get onto the website today, ardbeg.com. It's come up on the screen. /Ardbeg Day 2021. Go on the website, we've got an interactive map, there's loads of tastings and fun. There we go, coming up now, Fantasy Island map, you can go and explore. Loads of really, really good stuff on it to check out and to be part of the magic. You'll even see, I think, yeah, I'm definitely on there and looking at my absolute best. So thank you again. I'll just actually have some wee cheers, a wee slange of the Scotch before we go. It's been an absolute pleasure, and hope to see you on Isla soon. Have a great Ardbeg Day, everyone. Slange, Slange.